Hello everyone, my name is Jalilat. I'm your case manager if you retain Doherty Fultz Immigration for your study permit application. I'll be working together with Cassandra, our regulated CIC representative throughout the process. Here's how to build a strong study permit application. In this video, I'll be discussing an important but often underrated aspect of the study permit application, the study plan, otherwise known as the personal statement or the statement of purpose. They all essentially mean the same thing. For the purpose of this video, I'll be making a distinction between a study plan for immigration purposes and the personal statement / the statement of purpose for your admission purposes. When it comes to a study plan which you want to use for your immigration purposes, there are many questions to be answered, including what a study plan is, who should write a study plan, when should you write a study plan, how long should your study plan be, and many other questions. And in the next few minutes, we'll be discussing each and every of these questions one after the other. Now let's start with the basics. What is a study plan? If you are a postgraduate student or even an undergraduate student, you probably know what a statement of purpose is. This is basically a motivation letter that applicants write to support their application, and it includes their academic and professional accomplishments. So it is a vital piece of documents that you have to write to Canadian higher institutions in order for your application to be considered. Now we have made a distinction between statement of purpose and study plan, even though they basically mean the same thing. But for the sake of this video, to make things easy for you to understand, we are trying to make a distinction between these two. Now your study plan is slightly different from your statement of purpose. Now your statement of purpose that you write for your admission purpose will be more detailed because it's going to include why you have chosen that particular school, why you have chosen that program, and how the school fits with the program of your choice. However, for a study plan, which is for your immigration purposes, you're basically trying to convince the processing officer why you have chosen Canada to study for your higher education or even your secondary education, which means it is not going to be as detailed as your statement of purpose, but it will be concise and at the same time convincing enough to the processing officer that you are indeed going to study at a Canadian institution. This brings us to the next question: who should write a study plan? Basically, all international students seeking to study in Canada should write a study plan regardless of the level of their education. So there are many debates as to whether secondary school applicants should also write a study plan. In our office, under the guidance of Cassandra and other regulated representatives, we strongly recommend that every student, regardless of their level of education, should write a study plan. Why? Because ideally, we are trying to improve our chances of approval. Now that you know that a study permit is a type of temporary residence whose conditions demand that you leave Canada when you're done with your studies, now you can prepare your study plan. So you want to answer the following questions. Number one, why have you chosen Canada for this particular program? Because you could have studied in your country of residency. Why that particular program and why exactly in Canada? You want to convince the officer that this course that you have chosen and this institution that you have chosen aligns with your future goals. So you want to write exactly why you have chosen Canada as your study destination. You also want to mention the research that you have done to compare this program in your country of residence or your country of nationality if they are different and in Canada, and what are the benefits of studying this course or this program in Canada and not in your country of residence. You want to make all of these convictions to the officer, and you want to write them in your own words as to why you have chosen Canada to study this particular program. And the most important question that you should answer in your study plan is the employment prospect when you go back to your country of residence, because remember, a study permit is a type of temporary residence, which means that you have to leave Canada. So when you are done with your studies, what are you going back to your home country for? So you need to buttress on the employment prospects that are waiting for you back in your country when you're done with your study. Essentially, your study plan is a concise account of why you have chosen to study in Canada, why that particular program, why the particular institution that you have chosen, how does this benefit you in the long run, and what are your job chances when you go back to your country. This should be an account of your life and should be written in your own words. So how long should your study plan be? One page should be enough to give a concise account of your reasons for studying in Canada. You don't want to include so many embellished words. You don't want to impress, because you cannot impress an IRCC officer. All you want to do is to convince them. So aim to convince and not to impress. Moving on to the consequences of not submitting a study plan with your application. The only and most devastating consequence is a refusal. In case you're not convinced that a study plan can indeed lead to the refusal of a study permit, an officer would write in his refusal letter that I am not satisfied that you will leave Canada at the end of your stay based on subsection 2161 of the AIRPA based on the purpose of your visit. This really does not say anything, but one of our clients requested for their GCMS notes, that is the officer's notes, and here is what the officer said. Given the applicant's educational history, their motivation to pursue studies in Canada at this point does not seem reasonable. The study plan submitted is general and does not outline a clear career path to which such an educational program would be of benefit. So indeed, a study plan could be the reason for the refusal of a study permit application. It is that simple. One of the common mistakes that students make in their study plan is that they do not do an adequate research of the institution they have chosen to study at. Even if you have outsourced getting your admission through an agent, you still have to make your own personal research on this school that has been chosen for you and how this school is able to meet your career goals. Another mistake that students also make, or that applicants also make, is that they outsource their study plan. You do not give your study plan to somebody to write, because an IRCC officer who picks up your application can instantly tell that this has been written by somebody else, especially if it has been written by your representative. In our capacity as a representative in our office, we do not write study plan for a student. We do not write study plan for our clients. All we do is that you send your final draft to us and we tidy it up to meet the IRCC standards, because when an IRCC officer picks up your application, they can tell that this has not been written by you, because this is supposed to be an account of your life. You do not want to make this mistake. And now to the ultimate mistake that should not be made in your study plan is to write in there that you would like to continue to remain in Canada after your studies, or that you want to continue to work in Canada after your studies. Even if you would, even if that is your ultimate goal, to remain in Canada, to continue working in Canada after your studies, you still need to remember that a study permit, again, is a type of temporary residency which demands that you leave Canada at the end of your stay. So everything you're saying, all the words you're including, should all boil down to the fact that you are indeed going to leave. So do not make the mistake of writing in your study plan that you want to remain in Canada to work after your studies. No. Which brings me to the next point. Do not include lots of embellishments in your study plan. You cannot impress. And also, do not write your study plan in form of a question and answer. You want to write it in form of an essay. You want to highlight your family ties back to your country. You want to include all the reasons why you have to go back to your country after your studies is done. Finally, what do we do as your representatives if you have chosen for us to represent you with your study permit application? With your study plan, because that is the purpose of this video, we give you a template that has prompt and you can answer the questions in this prompt. Of course, you have to write it in the form of an essay. In summary, here are a few things that you should keep in mind when writing your study plan. You should not hire somebody to write your study plan for you. This is gross misrepresentation and could be grounds for the refusal of your study permit. Next point is that you should not be witty or try to be rude in your study plan. Even if you've been refused before, try to be as polite as possible. That brings us to the end of the video. If you still have any questions about writing your study plan or other aspects of Canadian immigration, please head over to our website www.dfimmigration.ca or simply click the link in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See you again.